I'm able to have the conversation and decide, not worrying about everything else, because I know this person knows me and they wouldn't bring me anything that would harm me, would be bad for
Mhm,
me.
mhm,
So how does
mhm.
that relate to your evangelist, right? The whole key is, because you know that if you're selling whatever, you could be selling widgets, you could be selling service packages, you could be selling whatever, but there's a decision maker who's making a decision to say, am I going to lose money by making this choice?
This business podcast, the Two Business Guys Mastermind, uncovers for you secrets and share tips and tricks to entrepreneurship as they mastermind on how to have startup, operational, and overall business success so that you can go on to get better results. Enjoy. Yeah, and this is what we want to talk about today, everybody, is, who's out there evangelizing your company? We're talking a little bit more than sales, a little bit more
Hmm.
than marketing, but who can co-sign that you're the
Exactly.
people that they want to talk to? That's what we're getting into
Exactly.
today a little bit. And we were talking about
Exactly.
Guy Kawasaki and how he was
Hmm.
an early Apple evangelizer.
Hmm.
Everywhere he went, that was his whole job. And I know someone, Rob, that I told this very same thing to. I says, now for this organization, you're going to be the evangelizer. And I said, you should be everywhere.
Exactly.
So that question
Exactly.
then is, well, how do they go about that, Rob? I mean, it's again,
Right.
it's not marketing. This is a little bit different.
Hmm. Yeah, and it fits in that realm. And I think that the first thing, before we even dig into the how, let's talk about why, right? Why do you want to be an evangelist for your business? Why do you want to have evangelists? Why do you want to do that? So when I was in the Marine Corps, one of the things that that you learned in playing the game, quote unquote, is that you have to understand how decisions are made so that you can understand what you need to get decisions to be made in your favor. And when you're getting promoted, especially when you're staff NCO, staff non-commissioned officer, all up through officers, what happens is there's
Mm-hmm.
a committee of people that look at a bunch of packages. And one of the things that you start to see that happens as a pattern, and this is a pattern because it's how humans make decisions, is that if you have a sponsor in the room, if you have someone who can brief your package because they have intimate knowledge of you, then you get to attach yourself to their gravitas. You get to attach yourself to their
Mm-hmm.
reputation because they're willing to speak for you. And you all know this, word of mouth advertising is the most powerful form of advertising. It has always been,
Yeah, yeah.
because of the fact that if I trust this person, then what's coming out of their mouth passes through all of my barriers and goes straight to the concept, or to the heart of the matter. And therefore, I'm able to have the conversation and decide, not worrying about everything else, because I know this person knows me and they wouldn't bring me anything that would harm me, would be bad for
Mm-hmm.
me.
Mm-hmm.
So how
Mm-hmm.
does that relate to your evangelist, right? The whole key is, because you know that if you're selling whatever, you could be selling widgets, you could be selling service packages, you could be selling whatever, but there's a decision maker who's making a decision to say, am I going to lose money by making this choice?
Mm-hmm.
When you have an evangelist, when you have people that are referring, people that are saying, your product is amazing, your product is great, your product is awesome, what happens is, it's not the product that sells it, it's the person, it's the sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to have people that are willing, right? And these don't have to, it doesn't have to be a lot of people. But you definitely have to have people that are willing to sing your praises, to go into those rooms and say that you're doing well. This is why one of my mentors, Darren Hardy, talks about, you have to get testimonials, right? And
Yeah.
you have to ask for referrals.
How different is that than in influencer marketing? Give me a.
Influencer marketing is similar, but here's the reason why it's a little bit different. Now, so for example, the influencer marketing that works the best is the influencer marketing where the influencer has a reputation for only marketing products that they use and love,
Mm,
right? When you have influencers that just market stuff and just say, hey, this is nice, or this is nice, or whatever, doesn't hit the same. And the reason it doesn't hit the same is because they don't tell the same types of stories. And those stories don't speak to the why of why they like your product. They just talk about the features. They just talk about maybe even the benefits. But they don't talk about the why that that gets to their core. And here's the thing that we have to understand: there's two different parts of the brain. There's the limbic brain, which is where decisions are made. So, there's a old phrase that people talk about, right? We think that we are thinking beings who sometimes feel, but the reality is we are feeling beings who sometimes think, right? And generally, the way that we make decisions goes
Well
like this.
said.
Right? I stole it from Brene Brown. I can't take credit for that, right? But the funny thing about it is the way that we make decisions is we feel that something is right, and then we search for the language to articulate why it's right,
Mm,
to rationalize why we feel what
yeah.
we feel.
Buy it with
And
emotion, justify it with
exactly,
logic.
with logic. And so ultimately, the beauty of understanding why somebody is doing something is that it passes through logic and it goes straight to emotion. You can feel when somebody believes what they're saying. You can feel when somebody is really sold on a product, right? We were just watching a video. We're talking about this because one of the things that we do in my company is help people to find their whys. And there's a video of a gentleman who is singing, and he sings two different times. The first time that he sings very competently. It's not that he can't sing; he can sing well, but he sings very competently because the person asked him just to sing. Show me that you can sing. So he shows him that he can sing. He meets the bar. Then he gives him a different why to sing. So don't sing so you can show me that you can sing. Sing because of this pain and this thing as if this has happened in your life. And the performance, when there was a why that was significant enough to pull out that performance, galvanized the crowd. Everybody in this is an auditorium that had probably 2,000 people in it. Everybody in the auditorium gave the gentleman a standing ovation, and they could
Yeah.
feel it. It
Yeah.
changed the tone of the room because they could feel the why that was in that singing. They could
And it,
feel the conviction that was in that singing.
yeah, when I listened to it, it was like, okay. But you notice how he framed it a particular way. He says, okay, you did the first one to meet the bar, like you said.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then now speak to someone that you have to reach. So
Exactly.
now think about your business, everyone, in just this small little bit of a framework. And I want to inject this, Rob, if I could. It says,
Mm-hmm,
when you know your why, your what has more impact.
that part.
Right. And you said that, right? Based on
Mm-hmm,
this framework. Now, we've heard Simon Sinek talk about this and he's drawing the circles and all that kind of stuff. But I can
mm-hmm,
see this pulling it out a little bit differently. And if a person is thinking, if you're thinking about your business now, and you kind of understand from the Simon Sinek approach, that's meeting the bar, right?
mm-hmm,
And you kind of go, okay,
mm-hmm,
this is why you should be doing what you're doing. This is what you should be
mm-hmm,
presenting to your public. This is the words you should be using, da da da. But
mm-hmm.
dig a little deeper, reach a little further. Now, I
Right.
took this assessment that you share, and I'm not going to go much into it now because, well, it's not totally rolled out yet, y'all. But be on the lookout for it,
Mm-hmm,
and we'll get it on the website. Put it in the description field when it's ready. Okay, so having taken the assessment to understand how I operate was very impactful. Now, knowing this, I can get to my what better. It
exactly.
was incredible.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you had that experience. We've been doing, like you said, we're on the pathway to rolling it out. We've done it with a number of business leaders, business people, and one of the things that it's really important for you to see is, and this is what transfers to those evangelists that we're talking about, those sponsors that are going to be out there. When you can help people tap into their why, or when you can translate your why into other people's whys. Remember, we talked about there's the limbic brain, there's the neocortex, the prefrontal cortex, the logic brain. When you can tap into the why do people like your product? Not because of the features and the benefits, but what is the thing that touches them, that grips them, that makes them overflow with joy to just talk about their experience? When you can tap into that, and when you have people that can tap into that and they can tell others, your evangelists, right? Because that's what evangelists do. They don't just tell the information, they give the experience,
That's it.
right?
Right. And I
And
love that
that's what you
word they
want to have in
use,
your
the
business.
evangelist of your company.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And who's out there doing that? And then that becomes, I used to kind of subscribe to the idea that you couldn't scale word of mouth, but I'm listening to some really smart people that's saying that is it.
That's the
You
way you
know, the
scale.
Alex Hermosies that are out there saying word of mouth is it. Now, you may
Yes.
use other tactics by which to get people in,
Hmm.
paid marketing and all that kind of stuff. He says, but
Hmm.
when you have other people, and we've seen this happen in movies. Hey, have you seen such and such? Hey, did you read?
You
Have you
need to
read
read this book.
Atomic Habits? Have you?
Hmm.
That's word of mouth. And now people are going, no, I haven't. But I know that you're a person that's on in the know. You're a
Hmm.
person I like.
Hmm.
So I might need to check this out. I
And
remember how
right,
Calendly grew. Calendly, it's like you start
word of
seeing it
mouth.
around. It's like, what is this Calendly thing?
Right.
And then next thing you know, people are like, oh yeah, you gotta
Hmm.
use that. This is a very easy way. It integrates. It's free. You can
Yep.
use the
Yep.
free version for a while, and then eventually you
Hmm.
say, "Well, I want to use it on other stuff," and then you go to the pay
Hmm.
version. But it functions so well that you talk about it.
Exactly. And it
Get me on
gives
your
you an
Calendly. Send
experience.
me your Calendly.
Calendly. Yeah, it became a word in the lexicon, and it
Yeah,
becomes an experience. And I think that that point that you made, right? Like so many people don't understand word of mouth because, and I didn't understand this for years because we're always focused on the first sale. And the thing that you have to remember, right? And Jay Abraham talks about this. A lot of other marketers, my mentor Darren Hardy talks about this. It's about 3 to 10% of the money that you're going to make from somebody is in the first encounter that you have with them.
3 to 10%. Gotcha.
Right? The first encounter, first sale is about 3%. And then if you do add-ons and things like that, for example, if you go to McDonald's and you go to get something to eat, you say a number one, right? They're like, okay, would you like that medium or large? That first medium or large just increased your order price, and that's an add-on, right?
Yeah,
And so now instead of you paying for the small meal, you paid for the medium meal or the large meal, right? And
yeah,
that could be a dollar to $3 difference, right? Maybe nowadays, maybe $4 or $5 difference. But ultimately, you paid more than you originally would have paid when you went in there. But there's more than just that add-on piece because then after you do add-ons, there are other options, other opportunities. This is when restaurants go in there like, do you want an appetizer? Do you want a main course? Do you want dessert? Right? Those are all things you may have been just coming in to get a main course, but if you get an appetizer and then you get dessert, you just added almost double to your bill. Right. There's another 30% with that. Then there's subscriptions and memberships and clubs and groups and all the rest of that type of stuff that you can be in to stay committed and continuing to purchase from the people.
yeah,
And then there's the subsequent times that you come back to purchase because now you've had a good experience and you purchase more often. And then there's the last thing, which is when you refer other people because of your experience to come and purchase. That's where all of the money is
yeah.
in an exchange. And so I remember I was sitting in a conference and it was so weird to me, but it rings true. When I look at my numbers, it's the exact same thing. 65% of your revenues will come from repeat customers or referrals,
That's awesome. That's, I
right?
mean, it's like what Amazon when they started off and to where they are now. Because I'll just about fight you if you say bad things about Amazon because they've done so well by me. Just
Exactly.
about, and not just about. They if I have a problem, I can return
Hmm.
it.
Hmm.
Period.
Hmm.
It gets there. I just bought a product the other day, and it said it'll be here like July 6th. I literally looked at the calendar like July 6th. What is happening right now? Right?
Right.
What's going on? Why so late? Not my 2 day shipping, but
Hmm.
you let it go. I tell other people, oh, just go to Amazon. That's word of mouth.
Hmm.
I'll just go to
Hmm.
Amazon. It's right. I get my
Exactly.
Prime stuff. I'm just watching, Jack Ryan.
Hmm.
So I'm getting all of these things. So when they hit me for 119 or whatever it is per year, I don't even know. I'm like, okay,
Exactly.
I'm good
Because the
with that.
value is so much more.
Exactly.
And and more importantly, you are a sponsor. You tell other people, like you just did it, right? You just explained. And notice you talked about what you got, but you talked more about how it made you feel and how they had done right by you,
Yeah.
right? That experience, you gave the why of why you're with Amazon that didn't have to do with, well, they do 2 day shipping and they do this and they do that. That's boring. But you talked about how it made you feel to know
Yeah.
that it's this easy, how it made you feel, how it gave
Yeah.
you sense of
Yeah.
comfort, a sense of easy, right? You can do so many things, and so you're comfortable, right? You led with, they have done so right by me that I'm almost ready to fight you if you say something bad about me.
That's
Ain't
that,
that
that's
ain't
what you
that ain't
want
got
in your
nothing to do
business.
with a feature.
Exactly.
That's an experience.
Imagine that you've got that business. It's got such, and now it's got such word of mouth marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Got such goodwill. Got evangelists out there speaking to that. Now HubSpot, they do a good thing too, right? And that's what the one of the founders, he tried to really talk about this a lot. He says, they don't believe in funnels, but they believe in flywheels. And I remember him, this is before his accident. He talked a lot about flywheels, and that's that it gains momentum as more people buy your product
Mm-hmm.
because they talk about your product and they go, this is awesome.
Yeah.
That's a flywheel. So it goes faster, it starts spinning more as it gets more momentum, right? Versus a funnel,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
Now, then you got like I say, Alex Hormozy, that's like saying, you don't go get a customer, then sell them stuff. You get the customer, or how do you put it? By selling them stuff, you make a customer or something. I can't remember. But then we
Mm-hmm.
go way back and we talk about Peter Drucker, who, now you see what's happening here. They're saying kind of the same things in different ways, different eras. He says you
Nothing
start
new
a
under the
business
sun.
to get a customer.
Customer, right? To
Wait
get
a minute,
and
I
keep a
start.
customer.
Yeah. And he says now the job, once you get one, is to keep them and to keep them happy, right?
There
And
you
all
go.
that kind of stuff.
Right. Yep. And there's a book I think everybody should read in this vein when we're talking about sponsors and evangelists and word of mouth. And that book is a book by Ken Blanchard called Raving Fans. If you haven't read this book, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you read it. If
I
you've read
think
it,
I
I highly
read that book
recommend you read it
recently.
again. Yep. It is a book that literally articulates the pathway. It's really short. It's maybe 100 pages, but it's profound in its message because it helps you to understand the power and the simple pathway to creating fans that are evangelists for your business.
Yeah, I love that. I've got a couple of things on the docket in terms of, and I've had them for a while, but the timing wasn't right to
Hmm.
spin them up, right? But I
Hmm.
think now with the fact that there's so much technology that's coming our way, and the fact
Hmm.
that I've been using this technology and like it and can speak to it
Hmm.
now, I'll give you
Hmm.
an example. I was basically getting a client the other day, and he says, "Man, you're a bad dude." Now I'm looking at this like, I just showed him. I said, here's some things you consider. I said, now let's pull up, Chat GPT, and here's not without me thinking, oh, I'm gonna just hide this from the client and act like I'm the person come up with this. I said, no, man, we're gonna go right over to Chat GPT. We're gonna put this information in. I said, now here is what it spit out. I had done this the day before. Here's what it spit
Hmm.
out on things your company should be doing.
Hmm.
Right. And then I says, okay, now let's go over to an article and let's pull a piece out of the article that then you could speak to. And here's some things I would say. And he's just sitting there like, yeah, you got the job. And not only that, I'd like to split 50% of revenues with you. I was like, yes. Because that's not just getting paid on the front end, that's getting paid in one of those in
In
perpetuity
perpetuity.
opportunities.
Yeah.
And it makes you kind of you're incentivized to anyway. So it is, these are what we have available to us,
Hmm.
so that we can go out there now and start having these moments of, I'm all in, immersed, I believe in this product,
Hmm.
and then sell it,
Yep.
right? And then be able to go, I stand by this product. So this thing that I'm spinning up is about that. It's saying, here's how I'm working with this, right? And that's using a little
Hmm.
bit of the Alex Hormozy framework instead of saying what you should do. Because a lot of my YouTube
Hmm.
stuff was like, you could. Now it's, hey, I'm using it.
Hmm.
Here are the
It's my
results.
experience. Exactly.
You can do
And you can
what you
feel
want.
why I'm telling you what I'm telling you
And
because
this
you
is
can
why I'm
see.
telling you what I'm telling you.
Exactly.
Can you see it?
I
Now,
love it.
kind of a thing, right? And I'm getting a lot of that because I'm showing people these products that I'm using and stuff like that as an affiliate. And then
Mhm.
I say, and of course, the person in us wants to try to do it ourselves. And you just kind of go,
Mhm.
okay, right. I gave you the blueprint to an airplane. You says, I'll put it
Mhm.
together myself. I'm not riding in that plane. And then eventually you come
Exactly.
back and say, can you help me put it together?
There
And I
you go.
go, yes.
I'm
Or I
actually
know
very good
somebody.
at that.
Now what I've been doing
Oh,
is
I know
like, hey, I know
somebody. Yeah.
somebody that's we're
There
gonna
you
we're
go.
gonna connect you with it.
That's my
That's
guy.
that's I've had to mature to that level, right? And I'm not totally 100% exercised of some of the other approaches that
Sorry,
I
we
take
we we go
businessly,
get you. We go get you there.
where I go, I'm farming all this out, right? But one of the first things I do, again, like Dan Sullivan talked about, is I ask the who can help me with this. But I also added a
Not
second
how.
one, is I also ask what.
Hmm.
Who can do this? What can do this? So, because I got software
Hmm.
that I use, and I go, could the software do it for me? Perhaps.
Hmm.
Can I find somebody to run the software? Yeah. I just wanted to have
There
the
you
big
go.
eye framework. Here's what I wanted to end with, everyone. So I'm watching Peter Diamandis and this other guy on what's his name? Salim something. I can't remember his name, but he says, coming up pretty soon, he says there's only gonna be you're gonna be able to create $1 billion company with only three people. $1 billion company with only three people. Now, Peter Diamandis is, singularity guy. He's, big on believing that technology is going to solve everything, right? Okay. This other
Hmm.
guy is pretty much with him in a business that they're doing. They just wrote another book too.
Hmm.
And he speaks to that three person company. He says, okay, you're going to have the CEO that kind of, does vision stuff. You're going to have your AI person, right? That is your I think they're calling it AIO, um, artificial intelligence artificial intelligence optimizer, right? And then he says you're going to have a series of AI programs that are going to be your de facto people. And then I can't remember the third person. The third person is something I can't remember what their
All
role
right,
is.
CFO.
Three people. Yeah, everybody I say that to, they say, probably some of that does the money. He said, nah, maybe
Hmm.
your accounting is going to be, but three people, $1 billion company, and I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see it, man. So
I can see the idea. I think that the problem that they're going
they
to
have
run
to
into,
prove it.
not only prove it, but that model, that AIO is basically doing all of the work of the company, and that person, because a lot of people think the AI is just it can do everything. It's not that it can do everything. It can do about 80% of the stuff, but there's 10% on the front end and 10% on the back end that a person has to do, and that 20% doesn't change because garbage in, garbage out, right?
Yeah,
And then even when you don't have garbage in, you still gotta curate and
that's why
and
they're
and collect.
optimizers. I'm curious about that. When I heard it, I did not disbelieve it
Right.
because
That person will
having worked
probably
with,
build a system of AIs, right? So that
yeah,
they
yeah,
have to do the stuff at the front and the AIs can do dot 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 dot. It's kind of like building, like ClickFunnels did, where you don't have to, it's all automated, the in-between steps, the editing, the cleaning up, the this, to that, the third. And then there's just the end edit at the end. So I can see it possibly, but I think that there's going to be some people intermediate into those steps because you need quality control.
I didn't disbelieve it because I'm just having work with it. I'm just seeing, man,
I love it.
I need to get three more
Hmm.
programs. Remember, it's a who or a what,
Yep, 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 yep.
right? And again,
I
as
get,
the CEO of things, and then I think one of them was like an implementer, making sure things get
yeah,
done.
yeah.
So,
No, no,
okay, yeah, operator. That's what he COO, CEO,
right.
COO, make sure stuff gets done, and then the
Hmm.
person that makes sure that they optimize the AI.
Yeah, and it makes
Three
sense.
person
I don't,
$1 billion.
I don't see somebody running the money, which is going to be when you're talking about $1 billion. It's funny. But then the other piece is and I think this is where my bias comes from. I go into companies that have systems that aren't working. And what you generally see when you go into companies that have systems that aren't working is that there's no quality control. That there's a system that's supposed to be quality control, but it's not actually checking the
Mm-hmm.
things that it needs to check.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're
Oh,
having is a single point of
makes sense.
failure with that person who's responsible for doing that. So if they have the skill set, I think that but it's two different skill sets. You're asking them to be an AI optimizer and a quality control expert. And I think that's where it's
Maybe
going to
that's
be
the part
very
that is
interesting.
still to be figured out. But
I would love to see it work though. I mean, at the end of the day, we didn't think that we were going to have $1 trillion companies and we got those now. So,
one's 3 trillion, isn't it?
exactly. Ain't
And
it
Apple
crazy?
just and get this. So I'm watching the Apple. Now I'm not an Apple guy. I had to admit, I think I put this on social media the other day. I said, I have to admit, no, I think I put it in a newsletter. I says, I'm not an Apple person. That whole ecosystem, not that I don't believe it, but I got, I'm just an Android person, a PC. I says, however, when I saw the provision, I
Hmm.
says, when that comes out, I want it. So Android,
Exactly.
y'all either get y'all shit together because when that comes out, I want one.
There you go.
And now, and that what that also then Rob led me to do was think about like 25 ways you could maximize using this. I can imagine solving the problem of because you can all these things that it can do, right?
Yeah,
And I watched
spatial.
it and I'm
Yep.
checking it out. I'm going, oh my God.
Hmm.
So I could literally sit there and then they got the battery pack so it's not so weighty and the whole thing, right? And I can
Hmm.
bring up everything, just use my fingers as the yeah, you can do that. So I'm
Yep.
saying
Yep.
I could just sit
It's on
there. I
some
got the
Tony Stark type stuff. Yeah.
widest screen as I want to, pull stuff, bring in all my I says, I'm never leaving the house.
I
Right
love
now, imagine
love
this
it.
for other, and I'm gonna share this with y'all out there right now. Right, if you're hearing this and you're getting some value, hit the subscribe button. I know we're at the end, but hit the subscribe button. Do all of the stuff you need to do to stay in touch with us. But look, I can imagine. I hear this a lot. People that are doing athletes that are doing rehabilitation,
Hmm.
right? And one of the biggest things that they say that makes a lot of them just eventually quit, lonely. They're
Hmm.
lonely. It's just you and now you got you and your so you could be doing work while you're doing rehab work. You're no longer lonely. You could be with your
Hmm.
family. You could have them on screen. You could be talking to them while you're lifting,
Hmm. Hmm.
right?
Yep. There's
You got
so
the
many
people
different
in the
applications. I agree with you.
old folks' homes and all that kind of
You can
stuff.
have your fan club, all types of stuff, right? You see everybody on Instagram doing everything now anyway, but you could be live streaming and seeing the feedback and all of that. Yep. No, I get
That's
that.
my point. I'm getting one, but I look at that and why it became a $1 trillion company. I literally was just reading this is because they anticipate that's going to be massively huge for them. Now they just blew past a whole bunch of people, right?
Yeah.
They're not talking about AI. They're not talking about chat GPTs and LLMs and all that. They says this is a new computer.
Because
See what
at
they
the end
called
of
it?
the day,
Not a headset,
right,
new computer.
a new computer. Because at the end of the day, whether you're doing products or services, you're serving people. And if you remember that you're serving people and you do that well, and you make sure that you get evangelists, you make sure that you tap into the whys, you will have people that will sing your praises, that will be raving fans, that will go and tell it on the mountain,
What am
right?
I doing? I'm an Android and PC guy talking about the enemy to those folks that believe that.
There you go. And that's how you can change the world.
And it's not cheap. It's $3,500
Mhm.
right now. Now,
Right.
you don't have to be first. I've seen people say, hey, they could be first. We're going to come with our thing. But get this. So then I go watch this movie, Ready Player One, that was a little bit ahead of its time when it came out. Because they had the
Mhm.
goggles and people were in like, dystopian kind of situations, but they would enter into this whole world.
Mhm. The
But
game.
I
Yep.
saw and I'm like, wait a minute. Those are the goggles.
That's it.
Just saying.
That's it.
Okay, everybody, get yourself
All
an
right.
evangelist or become that evangelist. You
Mhm.
are the main marketer of your company.
Yeah. Be the evangelist till you get evangelists.
Yep. Yep. All right, Rob.
I
That's
love
all I
it.
got,
All
man.
right,
What
brother.
else?
Nothing more, nothing more. Remember, find your why, figure out how to then tap into other people's why so that they will continue telling their why. That's the
That's
key.
what's up. We love it. We'll talk to you next time.